Before the market opens, there's silence. No candles moving, no orders filling, just you and the weight of everything you've learned and everything you still don't trust about yourself. Every trader enters this silence differently. Some with hope, some with fear, some with a quiet confidence they can't explain. But all of us are chasing the same thing, not money, but mastery. Mastery over the chaos that lives inside us. You tell yourself today will be different. You'll follow the plan. You'll wait for confirmation. You'll stay calm when it pulls back. You'll hold when it runs. You'll finally be disciplined. And then one candle, one impulse, one heartbeat, and everything changes. Emotion takes the wheel. Logic fades into noise. And once again, you ask the question that every trader eventually faces. Why do I know exactly what to do but still can't do it? It's not your strategy. It's not your knowledge. It's your relationship with emotion. You've been trying to engineer it, fix it, override it, when what you really needed was structure. Because structure doesn't fight emotion. It contains it. It gives chaos a place to land. It turns panic into pattern and uncertainty into routine. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. But it's what separates the few who survive from the many who self-destruct. This is not another lesson in trading. This is a mirror, a deep look into the part of you that trades when you shouldn't, doubts when you're right, and breaks your own rules for the illusion of control. Today we stop engineering. We stop trying to fix emotion. We start building structure. Because emotion will always fluctuate, but structure is what endures. Welcome to Mind Over Markets, where trading meets psychology, and psychology becomes your strategy. You don't lose money because you're bad at analysis. You lose money because you keep trying to engineer your emotions, to fix them, to control them, to make them disappear. But emotions are not your problem. Your lack of structure is. You can't outthink fear. You can't outsmart greed. You can't meditate your way out of panic when the market goes against you. Because emotion isn't the virus, it's the alarm system. And most traders spend their lives trying to disable the alarm instead of fixing what triggers it. You think you need to be stronger, more disciplined, more stoic. But the truth is, strength without structure collapses under pressure. Every time you try to fight your emotions directly, you feed them. Every time you promise next time I'll be calm, you've already lost. Because calm isn't a state of mind, it's a byproduct of structure. Let me tell you something about chaos. Chaos is not outside you. It's inside your process. The market doesn't create your emotional storms. Your lack of rules does. When you have no structure, every trade becomes a referendum on your worth. Every loss feels personal. Every win feels like redemption. You're no longer trading charts, you're trading identity. And that is where most traders break. You can read all the books, watch every webinar, buy every course, but as long as you approach trading like a test of willpower, you'll never win. Because trading isn't a battle of emotion versus logic. It's a negotiation between structure and chaos. Every trader has a moment when the screen goes red and their heart starts racing. Your plan fades, your rules vanish, and you hear that voice whisper, maybe just one more entry. Maybe it'll come back, and you click. Not because you believe in the setup, but because you want to feel in control again. That's not trading. That's emotional engineering. And it's an illusion. Emotion cannot be engineered. It can only be anchored by boundaries, habits, and structure. Think about a pilot. A pilot doesn't control the wind. He doesn't control turbulence. He controls the plane. He trusts the instruments. He follows procedure. Because when chaos hits at 30,000 feet, panic kills faster than gravity. Trading is the same. Structure is your cockpit. Rules are your instruments. And emotion, it's just the weather outside. When you stop building emotional walls and start building structural ones, something changes. The noise fades, the fear doesn't vanish, but it becomes smaller, containable. You stop needing to feel confident before you act. You act because structure gives you confidence. Structure is not about rigidity. It's about boundaries that give your emotions somewhere to rest. Without it, every tick feels like a threat. With it, even chaos feels predictable. A plan doesn't stop you from losing. It stops you from losing yourself. So when traders say, I need more discipline, what they really mean is, I need fewer decisions. Because discipline is not about self-control, it's about self-limitation. It's about designing your environment so emotion never gets a vote. Stop trying to fix your emotions. Fix your structure. Stop fighting the market. Fight for your process. The reason your emotions spike is because you've given them too much freedom, too much space between intention and execution. Structure compresses that space. It turns chaos into sequence, noise into routine. If you want peace in trading, you don't find it in calm. You find it in clarity, clarity of process, clarity of risk, clarity of identity. Because here's the truth, you are not your results. You are your reactions. And your reactions are built by your structure. So the next time you feel fear before a trade, don't fight it. Ask what it's protecting. Maybe it's telling you your position is too large. Maybe it's telling you you've broken your own rule. Or maybe it's simply reminding you you've been trading without a safety net. Fear is data. Greed is data. Every emotion you feel in the market is feedback from your system. If it's too loud, your structure is too weak. Most traders build emotional resistance. The best traders build emotional containers. And containers are made of structure. Structure doesn't care about how you feel. It doesn't need your motivation. It doesn't need your confidence. It only needs your consistency. That's why the best traders sound boring. Because stability doesn't scream. It whispers. It repeats. It does the same thing every day regardless of emotion. You can't master the market until you master your structure. And you can't master your structure until you accept your emotions as part of it. Emotion is not noise, it's the shadow of your structure. Where you have no system, emotion fills the gap. So stop engineering. Stop adjusting your psychology like it's a setting to optimize. Stop treating your fear as a bug in your code. It's not. It's a feature of being human in a game that punishes humanity. Structure is what lets you be human safely. Without it, your emotions will always find the button you swore you'd never press again. The market doesn't reward control, it rewards alignment. When your plan aligns with your psychology, your emotions become signals, not saboteurs. That's when trading starts to feel quiet. Not because the chaos disappeared, but because you finally built walls strong enough to contain it. Risk management. The phrase every trader knows, but few truly understand. Because it isn't about numbers. It's about emotions. It's about what you're willing to feel and still stay rational. You think risk management is a math problem. It's not. It's an emotional threshold. Every percentage you risk is a measure of pain you believe you can handle. But pain tolerance is not fixed. It changes with your mood, your confidence, your sleep, your ego. And that's why structure is more reliable than you are. Let me tell you a story. There was a trader, let's call him Adam. Adam was smart, analytical. He could explain every chart pattern, every macro driver, every setup. But when the trade went red, his logic disappeared. He would double down, move stops, tell himself it's just a pullback. And when the trade turned green, he'd cut it early, afraid to lose the little he'd regained. Adam didn't have a market problem. He had an emotional exposure problem. His position size wasn't too big for his account. It was too big for his nervous system. His risk wasn't financial. It was psychological. You can't trade above your emotional capacity. If your body is screaming, get out, no strategy will save you. Because when cortisol takes over, your IQ drops. You stop thinking in probabilities and start thinking in survival. You don't see charts, you see threats. That's why risk management is not a technical layer, it's an emotional firewall. It protects you from the version of yourself that panic creates. When you define your risk before entering, you are not just protecting capital, you are protecting cognition. You are preserving the part of you that can think clearly when everyone else can't. That's the true edge. But most traders don't do that. They think of risk as how much can I lose on this trade? They should be asking, how much can I lose and still think clearly? Because when you cross that line, when emotion hijacks logic, you are no longer trading the market. You are trading your biology. Emotion has latency. It lingers. A loss today echoes into tomorrow's decision. You think you've moved on, but part of you still fears a repeat. So you enter smaller, you hesitate, you overanalyze. Or worse, you revenge trade to erase the memory. That's not strategy. That's trauma response. Risk management exists to prevent emotional trauma, not just account drawdown. Because every traumatic trade you experience rewires your brain to associate markets with pain. And pain seeks relief, not logic. When traders talk about consistency, they often mean consistency of result. But true consistency is emotional. It's the ability to feel the same before, during, and after a trade. To maintain internal equilibrium regardless of external outcome. That stability doesn't come from mindset affirmations. It comes from a structure that limits exposure before emotion ignites. It's not courage, it's insulation. So when you risk 1%, it's not because someone told you to. It's because that's the amount your nervous system can absorb without losing clarity. Risk is emotional capacity expressed as percentage. The market has infinite ways to hurt you, but your reactions are finite. Structure narrows those reactions to predictable responses. That's why structure beats emotion every time. Most traders want to feel comfortable before they trade, but comfort is not the goal. Clarity is. Comfort makes you careless. Clarity makes you consistent. When you learn to separate the discomfort of risk from the chaos of emotion, you start to see the market for what it is: neutral. It's not against you. It's not for you. It simply reflects how much control you've built over yourself. Think of your risk plan as emotional design. Every rule you write is a boundary that protects your mental capital. Every stop loss is a pre-commitment to stay sane. Every take profit is a guardrail against greed. Risk management is not about saving money. It's about saving the trader. Money lost can be recovered. Emotional capital, once depleted, takes months to rebuild. That's why traders who blow up accounts often stop trading long before they run out of cash. They run out of confidence. They run out of clarity. They run out of self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of every good trade. When you risk too much, you're not testing the market, you're testing yourself. And sooner or later, your emotions will fail that test. So build a structure that doesn't require emotional perfection, because no one has that, not even the best. The best traders don't manage emotion, they manage exposure to it. They know their limit. They don't stretch it for excitement. They don't chase the feeling of winning. They chase the process of staying centered. The difference between professionals and amateurs is not knowledge, it's recovery. Professionals know exactly how to come back to neutral. They know when to walk away, when to pause, when to let structure lead. Structure is the bridge between fear and logic. It carries you across the emotional storm without needing you to suppress it. It says feel everything, but act on nothing without confirmation. The calm you seek in trading doesn't come from emotional control. It comes from structural surrender. You don't fight the market. You surrender to your framework. You let the rules absorb the chaos so you can remain still while everything else moves. Every trader reaches a point where they must decide, will I continue to trade emotionally or will I build something stronger than emotion? Because emotion will always return. But structure, if designed well, never leaves. It becomes your anchor in volatility, your compass in confusion, your armor in uncertainty. Risk management is not the art of avoiding loss. It's the discipline of surviving emotion. And survival is the prerequisite to mastery, consistency. It's the word everyone chases but almost no one understands, because most traders confuse consistency with control. They think if they could just feel less, react slower, stay calmer, they'd be consistent. But consistency has nothing to do with emotion. It has everything to do with identity. You act according to who you believe you are. Not what you know, not what you say, not what you intend, who you believe yourself to be when you sit in front of the screen. And if deep down you believe you're still proving something to yourself, to others, to your past, then the market will always be your mirror. It will keep reflecting the part of you that hasn't been resolved. You can't trade beyond your self-concept. If you see yourself as a struggler, you'll find struggle. If you see yourself as unlucky, you'll find bad timing. If you see yourself as a winner who needs to win, you'll force trades just to confirm it. The market doesn't reward skill. It rewards neutrality. And neutrality begins when identity detaches from outcome. That's why you can follow the same plan 2 days in a row and feel completely different. The plan didn't change, your self-image did. Yesterday you felt confident, so you executed cleanly. Today you feel anxious, so you hesitate. But your feelings don't alter the probability, only your behavior does. And your behavior changes when your identity isn't grounded in structure. When you base your worth on performance, you invite chaos into every trade. When you base it on process, chaos becomes feedback instead of judgment. That's the shift every trader must make, from proving to observing, from needing results to reading results. You don't need to trade perfectly. You need to respond consistently. That's the true meaning of professionalism. Not emotionless execution, but predictable response regardless of emotional state. The pros don't avoid fear. They expect it. They welcome it, because fear tells them they're playing within real stakes. But structure keeps that fear from mutating into panic. You can't remove emotion from trading, but you can remove its authority. Emotion will always have a voice, just not a vote. Structure decides. Rules decide, not the rush of excitement, not the ache of loss, only the framework. And here's where most traders fail. They build structure for the market, but not for themselves. They know when to enter, but not when to stop. They know how to manage risk, but not how to manage energy. They track their trades, but not their state of mind. Trading doesn't just require a strategy. It requires a system for your psychology, a daily reset, a ritual of grounding, because your nervous system is part of the setup. The best traders treat their minds like capital. They protect it. They recharge it. They never let a bad day compound into a bad week. They know the difference between fatigue and failure. When you operate from structure, you begin to feel something strange. A quiet confidence that doesn't depend on the outcome. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. You're no longer chasing certainty, you're following process. And process over time becomes identity. That's how consistency is born, not from motivation, but from alignment. When your identity, your structure, and your execution are synchronized, emotion becomes signal, not sabotage. It no longer defines you. It informs you. Think about the last time you broke your rule. It wasn't because you didn't know better. It was because in that moment, your identity as a disciplined trader vanished. Emotion took the wheel, and the self you built through routine was replaced by the self built by impulse. That's not weakness. That's design. Human beings default to emotion when structure disappears. So your job is not to change who you are. It's to build an environment where the best version of you shows up automatically. Structure is not a cage. It's a compass. It doesn't limit freedom. It defines it. Freedom in trading doesn't come from doing whatever you want. It comes from knowing exactly what you'll do no matter how you feel. Every rule frees you from chaos. Every habit frees you from hesitation. Every checklist frees you from the weight of choice, because choice is emotional load. And emotional load is the silent killer of consistency. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your structure. The market doesn't care about your ambition. It only reflects your execution. That's why the calmest traders often sound detached. They don't need excitement. They crave repetition. They understand that boredom is the cost of mastery. And in that boredom, they find peace. At some point, every trader realizes this game is not about money. It's about self-mastery. Money is just the scoreboard. The real work happens in silence between the impulse and the action, between the plan and the reaction. That gap is where your future as a trader is built. So stop engineering. Stop editing your emotions like they're mistakes. Stop chasing the high of control. Control is fragile. Structure is permanent. Let your process speak for you. Let your rules carry you. Let your losses teach you without defining you. And let your emotions visit but never move in. Trading is not about conquering fear. It's about coexisting with it. It's about letting emotion remind you that you're alive, but not letting it decide who you become. The market will always test your structure. It will always tempt you to abandon it. But every time you hold the line, you rewire your identity. You reinforce trust in yourself. And that trust is worth more than any profit. Because profits come and go. Trust stays. And trust is what allows you to stay calm when the chart turns against you, to cut a loss without self-hate, to follow your plan in silence when no one's watching. That's what trading mastery feels like. Not excitement, not euphoria, just quiet conviction, an inner stillness that says, I know who I am, and no trade can change that. That's the end game of trading psychology. Not to eliminate emotion, but to design a structure so strong that emotion becomes your ally. To reach a point where you no longer need motivation because structure itself becomes identity. And when structure becomes identity, you've already won. In the end, trading is not a game of charts. It's a mirror. And the market reflects everything you bring to it, your patience, your fear, your ego, your faith. You think you're analyzing price, but price is analyzing you. Every tick asks one question. Can you stay the same when everything changes? Most traders never learn how to. They chase setups, mentors, indicators, but not stillness. And stillness is the edge. The greatest traders are not the fastest. They're not the smartest. They're the most stable, because stability is power in a system built on uncertainty. Structure is how you hold your center when the world tilts. It's how you return to yourself after every emotional swing. It's how you stay a participant in the market without becoming a victim of it. You don't need to predict the next candle. You need to predict yourself. To know what you'll do when fear arrives, when greed whispers, when hope blinds you, that's mastery. Not in the charts, but in the moments between thoughts. There will always be losses. There will always be mistakes, but losses don't destroy traders. Attachment does. Attachment to being right. Attachment to control. Attachment to identity. Detach not from passion, but from outcome. Let your process carry the weight of decision. Let structure be the container where your chaos rests. And when emotion rises, don't fight it. Feel it, acknowledge it, and return to your framework. That's where your strength lives. You don't need to feel fearless. You just need to feel prepared, because preparation is the only real confidence. And when your rules are clear, clarity becomes calm. Every trade is a lesson in surrender. Surrender to imperfection. Surrender to probability. Surrender to the truth that you cannot control the market, only yourself within it. And one day, after enough cycles of loss and recovery, after enough battles with your own impulses, you'll notice something. The noise is still there, but it no longer moves you. The market still surprises you, but it doesn't shake you. You stop reacting and start responding. That's the quiet edge, the invisible advantage, the space between chaos and clarity that only structure can give. When you reach that point, you'll stop chasing freedom, because you'll realize you already have it. It was never outside the charts. It was inside your structure, inside the rules you hated to follow, inside the discipline you thought was a cage. That was your freedom all along. So stop engineering. Stop rewriting your emotions like errors in code. Stop searching for a version of yourself that feels no fear. Fear means you're alive. Structure means you'll survive. And survival is all you need for mastery. Because in the long run, the market doesn't reward brilliance. It rewards endurance. And endurance belongs to those who built structure, not to those who tried to build perfection. Remember this, the goal isn't to eliminate emotion. It's to design a life and a process where emotion no longer rules you. The goal isn't to win every trade. It's to become the kind of person who doesn't need to. When you trade from that place, calm, detached, aware, you're no longer playing against the market. You're playing within yourself. And that's the only game worth mastering. Structure over emotion, process over impulse, clarity over chaos. That's how traders evolve. That's how freedom is built. Not through control, but through surrender to structure. This is the quiet edge. This is trading maturity. This is the mind over markets. The market is closed now. The charts are quiet. But your mind is still moving, replaying every entry, every exit, every moment you hesitated or overreached. This is the part most traders ignore. The aftertaste of decision, the echo of impulse, the space where growth actually happens. You can judge yourself, or you can learn yourself. One leads to shame, the other leads to mastery. Every trade you've taken, win or loss, was a reflection of structure, or the lack of it. Not your worth, not your intelligence, just your structure. So forgive yourself for the losses. Respect yourself for showing up again. And promise yourself this. Next time you won't aim to feel stronger. You'll aim to feel structured. Because strength fades with emotion. Structure doesn't. The trader you're becoming isn't the one who never feels fear. It's the one who feels it fully, but still follows the plan. That's the difference between chasing control and finding freedom. Every candle closes. Every day resets. And so do you. Return to neutral. Return to structure. Return to yourself. Because in the end, you don't need to conquer the market. You just need to master the space between your thoughts and your next trade. This is how traders evolve. This is how clarity is built. This is how you turn emotion into data and chaos into consistency. You are not the fear. You are not the loss. You are the structure that survives both. This is mind over markets. And this is where trading finally becomes peace.